her last words to me are, "Yes, we're going home. All three of us are going home." And unfortunately, that was the last time I seen Amber Rose Isaac alive. I maybe met Amber when I was around 14 years old, and we actually lived in the same neighborhood. Once it became high school, I was always trying to shoot my shot, trying to, talk to Amber, get to know her in a different way, being more than just friends. In 2017, she reached out to me and told me that she was going to be graduating with her bachelor's degree, and she invited me to her graduation. It was magic ever since I made it to the graduation. We started planning a life from there. We moved in together immediately. She was like my twin flame. She was someone that would be there for you and figure things out with you. She really showed me how to take the time, and she also taught me how to love myself again, which is something that I struggled with for a long time. September 27th of 2019 is when we found out that she was pregnant. I could still hear her feet running from the hallway, just running from the hallway all the way to the room, and she jumps on the bed and she starts shaking me, waking me up and telling me that she's, we're pregnant, we're having a baby. It was very exciting for me. It was one of the most exciting moments of my life. In December of 2019, her platelets had deteriorated and decreased and fallen down to the 90s. She was developing a blood condition. We weren't being made aware by our OBGYN. We weren't being made aware by anyone. There were different physicians and OB signing off on her paperwork as if everything was fine. We knew that something was wrong with Amber. She was having troubles breathing. It went from us being able to walk half a mile to get to the park and, spend time at the park to barely being able to make it down the block. I pretty much have to carry her back home. The midwife told us that she was so high risk, she doesn't understand why she wasn't being seen by her OBs and her doctors. We're trying to get early FMLA, early disability, because now we're starting to hear about COVID. She's an early life educator at the time, so she's constantly having to carry young children up and down the stairs while she's having troubles breathing and she's feeling weak. She's trying to leave in April 2020 due to how she's feeling. The OBGYN tells Amber, "Well, I don't understand why you're not able to work through this. There are other pregnant women who are working through this right now. Why should you be exempt?" She writes on Amber's FMLA forms that Amber wanted to leave for personal reasonings versus her actual health condition and the deterioration of her health. Her job denies the FMLA. I see her tweeting up this storm. Of course, she's upset because this entire time she's been dealing with incompetent doctors. And that's when she stated that she wanted to write a tell-all about her treatment that she was receiving. And that's what that tweet was about. And then since her death, that went viral because that was 2 days before she passed away. And that was a testimony coming straight from her that everyone got to see. She was trying to warn people. On April 18th, they call us about 8:30 in the morning and tell us that we need to come to the hospital immediately. Amber needs to come in for treatment. It goes from her having to be there for a couple of hours to they need her to stay there for the whole weekend. I ended up getting kicked out of the hospital, trying to advocate for Amber because she was being neglected for so long, and they were trying to make her be alone in a room by herself, and she's scared to death. I get referred to as Mr. Baby Daddy for being a concerned father. Didn't know what she had or what was going on with her. They kept, it's got to be preeclampsia or COVID. They tested her 3 times for COVID. They all came back negative. We found out that they had to induce her labor because they found out she had HELP syndrome, which is an elevation of the blood and liver enzymes. Her platelets had deteriorated and dropped down to the 40s. So her blood was becoming more and more water-like and her blood was not clotting. She calls me, she tells me to pack a bag for myself, pack a bag for her, pack a bag for our son, that we're going to have our son 40 days premature. I get back to the hospital, they're not allowing me to be alongside her. They told us, due to COVID regulations, you can't hold her hand, you can't sit next to her, you have to sit on the far side of the room. The nurse is rushing in, she's telling us all of these different procedures, the risk factors to these procedures, and telling us that these are very low risk factors. They come in about 30 minutes after that. They're telling us that they have to perform a C-section. Knowing that her blood is not clotting, we're very concerned. But, we agreed to it. We're thinking that these are medical professionals. They have Amber in mind. They have my son in mind. I see that she's frightened. She's hyperventilating. I'm trying to, show up for her like she's always shown up for me. And, I'm telling her this is the last push. This is it. And we get to go home with our son. Her last words to me are, yes, we're going home. All three of us are going home. They told me that they're getting ready to put her under and that I can't be in the operation room. They wheel her off, and unfortunately, that was the last time I seen Ambrose Isaac alive. I'm hearing over the intercom that they need all medical professional staff to Amber's room. And they had to say that she was a non-COVID patient 3 times before people really started rushing to her aid. I'm asking questions, nobody's sharing with me. I seen them rush my son out. Are they sewing her back up? She looks in my face in complete shock. And that's when I knew that something was going on. She says no, they had to cut her open again and perform an emergency hysterectomy. They thought the bleeding was coming from her uterus. They took out her uterus to find out that's not where the bleeding was coming from. So they performed a hysterectomy on her for no reason. And I'm thinking to myself, Amber is going to be pissed when she wakes up because we planned on having a second child after Elias. They massaged her heart manually for over 2 hours. She passed away a month before receiving her master's degree. Losing Amber has been tough. Being a single father has been tough. I just think about what could have been and what should have been. I think about the life that we would have had together. For the first year, it was very hard for me to sleep in a room and sleep in the bed that we once shared together. I had to be the nurturer now. So I had to be the nurturer and the provider because, life doesn't stop after a death. I still hear her voice in my head. Even though she's not here, I still want to co-parent with her. I still want to raise our child the way that she imagined for us. He knows who his mom is and he speaks to his mother. Immediately after Amber's passing, I jumped into advocacy work. Amber advocated for herself time and time again, and she was being ignored. So I felt like it was time to get men involved and to educate ourselves on reproductive wellness, reproductive justice, and how we can show up as better support partners. I started the saveArose Foundation immediately after losing her. What we do at the saveArose Foundation is we aim to combat and dismantle the systemic flaws within the medical system and redirect the course of birthing equity towards better birthing solutions. We do lose white women also to this healthcare system, but when it comes to Black women, these numbers, I like to use the word genocidal. In Amber's honor, we've been, combating those and those systemic issues. Just seeing, these conversations being had more and more gives me hope for effective change. The best way that I feel like I can honor her is by marking her place on this earth and having her become a part of history forever.
She is seen. Are you?